Chardikla Time TV North America देख रहे सारे दर्शकों का वर्ल्ड पंजाबी न्यूज़ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ। ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਰਿਦਮ। ਖਬਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਕਰਨ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਮਾਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕੁਝ ਖਾਸ ਹੈਡਲਾਈਨਸ। ओंटारियो अंदर सितंबर महीने च होगी मुकम्मल स्कूल रीओपनिंग। ओंटारियो सरकार वालों $25 मिलियन फंड देने का किया गया ऐलान। वैक्सीनेशन लई नहीं होगा कोई नियम। मॉन्ट्रियल विच गोलीबारी दी घटनावां नाल नजिठण लई बनाई गई रणनीति। घटनावां नाल नजिठण लई फोर्स दी कीती गई तैनाती। अफगानी कैनेडियंस नूं लैके पहला अफगानी जहाज पहुंचा कैनेडा। फैडरल सरकार वालों नागरिकता देण तहत लिया गया फैसला। ते हुण खबरां विस्तार नाल। ओंटारियो विच संभावित तौर उत्ते सितंबर विच स्कूल खुलण जा रहे हैं। ओंटारियो सरकार वालों यह स्पष्ट कर दिता गया है कि जिन्हां बच्चों का टीकाकरण नहीं होया उन्हां लई वैक्सीनेशन मुकम्मल विद्यार्थियों नालों वखरे नियम लागू नहीं किए जाणगे। इस तो इलावा फंडां दे रूप विच $25 मिलियन का भी ऐलान किया गया है। इस पैसे नाल विद्यार्थियों के स्कूलों विच परतण तो पहला एयर क्वालिटी विच सुधार किया जाएगा।
We are grateful and excited that students are returning full-time in person within our schools in the province of Ontario. The return of in-person learning means that children will be able to interact directly with their friends and their teachers. Under this plan, students will return to a more normal in-person and full-time learning experience, which we know parents and experts have urged us to do. In-person learning is crucial for their mental and their physical health, their overall well-being, and the long-term academic success of our students. Acting on the best expert advice in the public health perspective, including Public Health Ontario, Sick Kids Hospital, CHEO, and Ontario's Science Advisory Table, we are taking further action to ensure that ventilation improvements will be in place in all publicly funded schools across this province. Last school year, we announced $100 million for immediate measures to improve ventilation, which includes upgrading existing systems, changing air filters more frequently, using the highest grade air filters possible within our schools. We partnered also with the federal government to fund more HVAC projects, window opening projects, and retrofits. Over $450 million is being invested for ventilation projects through the COVID-19 resilience funding stream, and we think this is going to make a difference. Improvements in air quality have been made or are being delivered across Ontario school boards, including in over 2,000 projects in over 1,670 schools and co-located childcare facilities. Today, I'm proud on behalf of our government to announce an additional $25 million investment for the purchase of approximately 20,000 additional standalone HEPA filters or HEPA units, which can improve air quality where there are challenges with ventilation within our schools. The additional funding announced today, combined with our past investment, will ensure that all occupied learning environments, including classrooms and gyms, libraries, childcare rooms, portables, and other instructional spaces without mechanical ventilation, will now have a standalone HEPA filter placed within it when students return this fall.
फैडरल सरकार के परिवार कल्याण और लोक भलाई मंत्री अहमद हुसैन ने ब्लैक भाईचारे नाल संबंधित संस्थावां नूं सहायता देने का ऐलान किया, जिस दे रूप विच हाउसिंग और समाजिक सुरक्षा प्रणाली भी शामिल होगी, जिसका मकसद ब्लैक भाईचारे नाल वितकरा खत्म करना होगा।
I've known you for a long time, and this is a neighborhood that I join you today that was once my home, a place that I grew up, that still remains very close to my heart. And Marcy, you've been a strong champion for this constituency, for the residents of Toronto Centre, for housing, for supporting the most vulnerable, for being there for families. And I know that you care deeply about the social as well as the real infrastructure of Toronto Centre. And the reason we're here is quite simple. It's time. It's time that we address the issues that matter to Black Canadians. Au cours des 6 dernières années, notre gouvernement a travaillé fort pour s'assurer que tous les Canadiens aient les mêmes chances de réussite. Over the past 6 years, our government has worked hard to ensure that each and every Canadian has the same opportunity for success. And that includes tackling systemic racism. It includes tackling the challenges faced by Black Canadians every single day. And this past year, we have seen millions of people around the world stand up against anti-Black racism and stand up for justice and equality. And the numbers surrounding systemic inequities for the Black community really do speak for themselves. If you look at the incarceration rates, if you look at the unemployment rates, if you look at access to affordable housing, employment, and so on, you see pattern after pattern of examples of systemic racism and discrimination that is faced by Black Canadians, quite frankly, every single day. And Marcy and I ran for office to tackle these issues and to join those who are willing to fight hard to dismantle the barriers faced by racialized Canadians, including Indigenous peoples and Black Canadians.
ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਦਿਨੋ ਦਿਨ ਵੱਧ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਜੁਰਮ ਦੀਆਂ ਵਾਰਦਾਤਾਂ ਤੇ ਗੋਲੀਬਾਰੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਘਟਨਾਵਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਨਜਿੱਠਣ ਦੀਆਂ ਰਣਨੀਤੀਆਂ ਦੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਹੈ। ਮੌਂਟਰੀਅਲ ਦੀ ਮੇਅਰ ਵਿਲੇਰੀ ਪਲੋਟ ਨੇ ਐਲਾਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਗਨ ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਦੀਆਂ ਘਟਨਾਵਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਨਜਿੱਠਣ ਲਈ ਫੋਰਸ ਦੀ ਤਾਇਨਾਤੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ।
This is not the kind of society we want to live in. But the thing is, it cannot be seen only as a local thing or a city thing. Like ultimately, the law that is being worked on, if I could say, the proposition says that it should be cities that manages handguns on their territory. It doesn't make any sense. There could be guns just across.
We're working on different fronts. So we're conducting investigations. We're visible on the streets with uniformed personnel to reassure people and to deter any reaction or vengeance in these groups. But we're also working with the community neighborhood stations with the community organizations.
We are willing to make sure that this effort of collaboration between the Sûreté du Québec and the SPVM goes on in time. So we are announcing that we will be creating a targeted team, an integrated team, une équipe intégrée, that will be 100% concentrated on fighting against violence linked to guns and gangs.
The fact that we'll be joining forces with Sûreté du Québec will enable us to recuperate some resources and re-inject them on the fight against armed violence in the streets of Montreal.
Today, you have a united voice against gun violence.
ਰਿਪੈਂਟਨੀ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੀ ਗੋਲੀ ਨਾਲ ਮਰੇ ਬਲੈਕ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਬੰਧਿਤ 38 ਸਾਲਾ ਜੀਨ ਰੇਨੇ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਰਧਾਂਜਲੀ ਦੇਣ ਲਈ ਭਾਈਚਾਰੇ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਵੱਡਾ ਇਕੱਠ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ। ਉਸ ਦੀ ਚਚੇਰੀ ਭੈਣ ਡੌਨਮੀਨ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਦੇ ਰਵੱਈਏ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਨਿਰਾਸ਼ਾ ਜ਼ਾਹਰ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਰੇਨੇ ਲਈ ਇਨਸਾਫ ਦੀ ਮੰਗ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ।
We're mad. We're very mad. It was unfair. The fact that he shouldn't be dead right now.
J'ai appelé le 911 pour me donner de l'aide. Au lieu de m'aider,
I called 911 for them to help me, and instead of helping me, they killed my son.
This would be a wake-up call, the ultimate sad but tragic, but it's an ultimate wake-up call for people to say that enough is enough, and if we don't change, there's going to be worse things taking place here.
c'est juste la couleur qui nous diffère. Il n'y a pas de choses encore.
When is it going to stop? We don't know. Do we have to kill all our black men for them to feel that, oh, okay, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to treat them like the white ones?
Hopefully these cases will lead to mandatory court order changes to the way that the city conducts itself, to the way police services are delivered to people, and also hopefully to put a brake on, if not to stop racial profiling in this city.
I'm going to give you a secret. Black people prefer dying than calling the cops. Okay? They prefer dying. They don't believe in cops.
When police officers act that way, they're what? They're not criminals?
To call for change to the way that black residents of Repentigny have been treated, and an end to racial profiling and racism in this city, because year after year, month after month, and week after week, we hear so many complaints.
ਲੈਬਨਾਨ ਦੀ ਰਾਜਧਾਨੀ ਬੈਰੂਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਏ ਬੰਬ ਧਮਾਕੇ ਨੂੰ 1 ਸਾਲ ਦਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਦੀ ਯਾਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੌਂਟਰੀਅਲ ਵਾਸੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਮ੍ਰਿਤਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਰਧਾਂਜਲੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਤੇ ਪੀੜਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹਮਦਰਦੀ ਜ਼ਾਹਰ ਕੀਤੀ, ਜੋ ਕਿ ਅਜੇ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਪਟੜੀ ਤੇ ਆਉਣ ਦੀ ਉਡੀਕ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ।
The first reason why we're here is to be together in this moment of grief and to be there for each other. So exactly a year ago, the Lebanese government murdered more than 218 innocent people that were just living their normal lives, left more than 6,500 injured, and more than 300,000 homeless. It's more than just incompetence. It's premeditated negligence in our point of view, and the Lebanese people do not want anything more than justice. They want to know the truth, why their children died and why their whole families died on August 4th, 2020.
ਅਫਗਾਨਿਸਤਾਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨ ਮਿਲਟਰੀ ਮਿਸ਼ਨ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਮਦਦ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਅਫਗਾਨੀ ਰਫਿਊਜੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਜਹਾਜ਼ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ। ਫੈਡਰਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਜਹਾਜ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿੰਨੇ ਰਫਿਊਜੀ ਸਨ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਵਸਾਇਆ ਜਾਵੇਗਾ। ਜ਼ਿਕਰਯੋਗ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅਮਰੀਕੀ ਸੈਨਾ ਦੇ ਅਫਗਾਨਿਸਤਾਨ ਤੋਂ ਵਾਪਸ ਆਉਣ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਦੇ ਕੁਝ ਡਿਸਟ੍ਰਿਕਟਸ ਉੱਤੇ ਤਾਲਿਬਾਨ ਨੇ ਮੁੜ ਕਬਜ਼ਾ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਲਈ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨ ਫੌਜ ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਅਫਗਾਨੀ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਨਾਹ ਦੇਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਹ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ। इस जहाज में किन्ने रफ्यूजी सन इस बारे सरकार ने कोई जानकारी नहीं दी। कई अफगानी जिन्होंने अफगानिस्तान में कैनेडियन मिशन में मदद की सी उन्होंने तालिबान वालों निशाना बनाया जा रहा है। पिछले महीने सरकार ने कैनेडियन आर्मड फोर्सेस की मदद करने वाले दुबाशिए कुक ड्राइवर क्लीनर कंस्ट्रक्शन वर्कर्स सिक्योरिटी गार्ड्स ते एम्बेसी स्टाफ के नाल उन्होंने परिवारक मैंबरों को कैनेडा में सैटल करने वास्ते स्पैशल प्रोग्राम का ऐलान किया। ਆਂਦਰੇ ਡੀ ਗਰਾਸ ਨੇ 100 ਮੀਟਰ ਦੌੜ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਾਂਸੀ ਦਾ ਤਗਮਾ ਜਿੱਤਣ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ 200 ਮੀਟਰ ਦਾ ਸੋਨੇ ਦਾ ਤਗਮਾ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਾਮ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਹੈ। ਸਾਲ 2004 ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਇਹ 200 ਮੀਟਰ ਦੀ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਦੌੜ ਸੀ ਜੋ 2017 ਵਿੱਚ ਰਿਟਾਇਰ ਹੋਏ ਉਸੈਨ ਬੋਲਟ ਤੱਕ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਿੱਤੀ ਸੀ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਇਸ ਜਿੱਤ ਦੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਪੂਰੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੇਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕੋਚ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਇਸ ਜਿੱਤ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਡੀ ਗਰਾਸ ਦੀ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ।
Absolutely not. I've been calling this for years now. Doesn't come as a surprise, especially after watching the semifinals yesterday, where he broke the Canadian record and looked pretty easy doing it. So I was confident that today he was going to lower it and he was going to win. Well, he executed he executed the race perfectly. I mean, he competed well on the first piece, which is always a challenge for Andre, the first 40 meters. But he stayed in touch and came off the bend in touch with the rest of the field. And we know he has a great finish. So. He put it together just about perfectly today, and we got that result. Well, it's not so much that he's accelerating; he's just decelerating slower than the other competitors. So Andre is able to hold on to his top speed longer than the rest of the competitors in that race. So that's basically one of his strengths in terms of his sprinting. Well, it's just the fact that I'm a development coach, a high school coach. I spend a lot of time around track and field. My whole life I've been in the sport. And I'm always out looking for new talent for the club and so on. So when I saw this kid that I didn't know, run, sub 11 seconds, 10.9 is usually a benchmark that we kind of use as potential in terms of talent. So I had no idea who this guy shows up and runs 10.9. I've never seen him before. And then I find out he's in grade 12. So made the intro and got him out to the club and started working with them on a few things, and it just continued to progress from there. And I started seeing more of what I'm dealing with here. This guy's not the normal average talent. We took great care of him, put him in an environment where he continued to develop and excel. That's character is everything. I mean, and for me, character is everything. And Andre is the type of individual that people love to be around. He has nothing but good things to say about people, and he's just a really, as you mentioned, he's a really kind human being. He's just a really good guy, and I always say good things happen to good people, and couldn't have happened to a better guy. Well, Andre's got 5 years of competitive track under his belt. Remember, he lost 2 years due to injury. He's 26 years old. He takes great care of his body, so he's probably got 2 or 3 Olympic cycles left. Should he have that hunger, I mean, to do the hard work to continue excelling and improving. So
ਕੋਵਿਡ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵ ਘਟਣ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਭਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਪ੍ਰੋਵਿੰਸਿਸ ਪਾਬੰਦੀਆਂ ਘਟਾ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਨੀਟੋਬਾ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਸਖਤੀਆਂ ਘਟਾਉਣ ਦਾ ਐਲਾਨ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਮ ਨਿੱਜੀ ਇਕੱਠ ਤੇ ਗਰੋਸਰੀ ਸਟੋਰ ਖੁੱਲ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ। ਪਬਲਿਕ ਹੈਲਥ ਆਫੀਸਰ ਆਫ ਮੈਨੀਟੋਬਾ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਮੌਕੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੁਚੇਤ ਰਹਿਣ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਸਲਾਹ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੈ।
So as of Saturday, August 7th, new public health orders will come into effect. New orders will only restrict some of the most high-risk transmission environments, and so some sectors will be open without restrictions. And so these sectors that will be open without restriction are indoor and outdoor gatherings at private residences, gyms and fitness centers, libraries, personal services such as hair and nail salons, day camps, retail businesses, markets, garden centers, and malls. So other sectors will still have some restrictions, albeit loosened. So expanded capacity limits will remain in place for public gatherings, both indoors and outdoors, including larger capacity limits for worship and culture events, such as powwows. Restaurants and bars will no longer need to restrict the size or space between tables, and dining will not be restricted to household or vaccinated individuals. Patrons will still be expected to avoid congregating or socializing between tables. Museums, galleries, and movie theaters will be able to open to 50% capacity, but will no longer be restricted to vaccinated individuals only. Casinos, bingo halls, professional sporting events, horse and auto racing, and concert halls will continue to be limited to vaccinated individuals only. However, they can open at 100% capacity. Indoor and outdoor sports and recreation, including dance, theater, and music schools, will be permitted with no capacity limits on participants, but spectator capacity limits will still apply. Overnight camps will be permitted with limits on camper cohorts. Workplaces must continue to report COVID-19 cases to public health for follow-up. However, remote work is no longer required or recommended by public health. Instead, workplaces will be encouraged to transition to a general communicable disease prevention plan to reduce the risk of workplace transmission of COVID and other respiratory viruses that are very likely to resurge this fall.
ਟੋਕੀਓ ਵਿੱਚ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀਆਂ 올림픽 ਖੇਡਾਂ ਅੰਦਰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਖਿਡਾਰੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਪੂਰੀ ਧਮਾਲ ਪਾਈ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ। ਇਸ ਵਾਰ ਤਾਂ ਤੈਰਾਕੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨ ਖਿਡਾਰੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਕਮਾਲ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਖੇਡ ਅੰਦਰ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਨੂੰ 골ਡ ਮੈਡਲ ਨਸੀਬ ਹੋਇਆ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਜਦੋਂ ਇਹ ਖਿਡਾਰੀਆਂ ਜਿੱਤ ਕੇ ਵਾਪਸ ਪਰਤੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਚਿਹਰਿਆਂ ਉੱਤੇ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਸਾਫ਼ ਨਜ਼ਰ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਹਰ ਕੋਈ ਮਾਣ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਕਰ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ।
It still feels pretty surreal. I mean, every time I hand it out to the next person that wants to hold it, it feels a little bit more real just because I guess everyone, this is the pinnacle of sport and it's really an honor to have one.
Yeah, it was so special. I think especially this year when they weren't able to be there, it was a challenge, but I knew they were supporting me from home and it's really nice to be home now and to be able to share that with them.
Oh man. Okay, well home for me is Arizona, so still not home yet. But first thing I did when I got here in Toronto, I just slept. I was exhausted.
How long did you sleep for?
Yeah, no, I think we're all just kind of like taking it in still and like resting up and then maybe celebrate a bit later. I don't know. No, I am not the Nat Master. That's Maggie.
Yeah.
But she did.
Yeah, so going into it, we were prepared that it wasn't going to be anything similar to what we had done before. So I think with those expectations, we went in and it wasn't actually as different as we thought it was going to be. So that was a really good thing for an advantage for us.
Yeah, we knew the Olympics was going to be different, but we were prepared for that. And I think it was just important to recognize it was going to be different and then just be able to adapt.
Yeah, I thought this games was just so special. I mean, sorry, I'm going to take this out. It's kind of hard to like multitask, but yeah, I just love competing at these games with, we were kind of talking in an interview before this, we're all just so close because we've trained together this past year and kind of taking it to the next international stage together. It was really cool to just see everybody's faces on the podium and just, I don't know, it was definitely a super special experience.
Yeah, I think going into it we were kind of expecting a president-like experience, but it honestly wasn't. I had a lot of fun in the village and seeing different countries. It's been a pretty solemn year. Haven't really seen a lot of people, so to go out and kind of see different sports and just feel like we're kind of back in the world again was definitely nice for sure.
ਫਿਲਹਾਲ ਵੱਲ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਨਿਊਜ਼ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਬੁਲੇਟਿਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਨਾ ਹੀ। ਹੋਰ ਤਾਜ਼ਾ ਖਬਰਾਂ ਲਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੇਖਦੇ ਰਹੋ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਟੀਵੀ ਨਾਰਥ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਰਿਦਮ ਨੂੰ ਦਿਓ ਆਗਿਆ। ਧੰਨਵਾਦ।
Thank you.